Hello, my name is Christopher Jackson, and I am currently pursuing my degree in developmental psychology. One of my long-term career goals is to found a faith-based school for middle schoolers grades 6th through 8th. I envision this school as a place that integrates strong academics with leadership development, character formation, and real-world life skills. The vision behind this school is to redefine middle school education. Rather than focusing on test scores and standardized assessments, this curriculum would integrate experiential learning with an expedition mindset. Students would explore subjects like STEM, critical thinking, public speaking, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, community service, improv, and biblical studies. I like to joke that my students will earn a degree in biblical studies and apologetics without even knowing it. Ultimately, my goal is to raise up the next generation of empathetic and ethical leaders. This vision led me to my research topic, faith-based middle school education and leadership development. The question I'm exploring is, how does participation in a faith-based education influence the development of leadership traits such as empathy, integrity, and the ability to inspire others? Let's look at what the research says about the connection between faith-based learning and leadership. McMaster 2013 examined how Christian education influenced leadership development by interviewing 10 leaders who attended faith-based schools. Their stories revealed four major influences on leadership growth: integration of a Christian worldview, mentorship of teachers and coaches, academic challenges that built perseverance, and activities outside of the classroom that developed teamwork and confidence. McMaster concluded that Christian education lays the foundation for both character and leadership formation. This aligns with Clinton's leadership emergence theory, which suggests that leadership develops gradually through a person's experiences, relationships, and testing over time. Building on this idea of leadership formation, another study was examined on how these values appeared in practice. Shula Van Wyk and Haystack 2022 explored servant leadership in top-performing faith-based schools in South Africa. They interviewed 12 principals, all of whom demonstrated a consistent pattern of servant leadership, putting the needs of others first, investing in staff growth, strengthening community relationships, and staying hands-on in both people and task-oriented work. Student leadership complements Clinton's theory by showing how leaders emerge through service, humility, and community. This study demonstrated that faith-based models produce competent leadership that is rooted in compassion and empathy, thus confirming the reliability of these practices across diverse settings. In order to show how the theory can be seen played out in practice, I examined a real-world example of a school that serves a modern model of experiential value-based education. The French Broad River Academy, FBRA for short, located in Asheville, North Carolina, does just that. FBRA's mission is to build character and integrity for a lifetime of learning, service, and leadership. FBRA ND. It is known for combining rigorous academics with outdoor expeditions, service learning, and international emergency experiences. And through this learning experience, their students graduate with confidence, compassion, and a strong sense of leadership. This provides what researchers called applied validity, which simply means there's real-world evidence that these principles actually work. This is what makes the FBR way a strong model for adopting a hands-on, purpose-driven education in order to shape desirable leadership traits. Drawing inspiration from the FBRA model, I would study my own question using a mixed method research design method, combining both numbers and narrative. When it comes to the quantitative data, that would deal with the number and statistics. And in using this model, I would use surveys, leadership assessment scales to measure traits such as empathy, integrity, and peer leadership amongst the students. When it comes to the qualitative data, I would conduct interviews and focus groups with parents and teachers, administrators, and community partners. This mixed method approach will help me capture both the measurable outcomes and lived experiences, which would provide a fuller picture of how faith-based education could shape young leaders. Now, when it comes to strengths, there are several. Triangulation, which is using multiple data sources to strengthen the credibility, the richness of the data, showing the number trends while interviews capture personal stories and the meaning, flexibility, showing that the mixed method allows for exploration of leadership from multiple angles that a single method may overlook, and applicability, comparing the results from FBRA's model to help me guide the direction and design of my future school, Kingdom Work Academy. Of course, with every research approach, there are going to be challenges. So the challenge that I foresee is that collecting the surveys and the interviews is going to be time intensive and take a lot of resources. Analyzing both the statistics and the interviews can be complex, daunting, and demanding. And of course, there is always a chance of my personal bias influence the interpretation of the data since I am deeply invested in the school's success. And if there's a final thing, it would be a question of transferability. And the question that would arise from that would be, can lessons from a secular experiential school like FBRA be directly applied? Can it be directly applied to a faith-based school setting? So before collecting the data, it's important to ensure that my results would be reliable and valid. So when it comes to reliability, that actually just means consistency. If I measured leadership traits again next semester, would I get a similar result? For example, if students consistently score high on empathy across time, that would show good reliability. When it comes to the validity and the accuracy, the question I would have to ask myself is, am I truly measuring leadership development or am I just measuring academic performance? An example of that would be if my surveys and my interviews reflect growth in a moral reasoning and interpersonal influence rather than just grades. McMaster's study showed construct validity by linking Christian education with established leadership theory. Shula et al. Demonstrated reliability since servant leadership traits appeared consistently across principles. FBRA provides applied validity, demonstrating that real-world proof that experiential education produces measurable leadership outcomes. So to bring this study to life, here's what I would collect and how I would analyze the data. When it comes to the data collection, I would use surveys for the students so that I can measure leadership traits like empathy and ask survey questions such as, how well do I understand others? Or how well can I sense that someone needs my help even if they don't ask for it? Also, I can survey integrity by asking certain questions around honesty, also around promise keeping and doing the right thing even if no one is watching. I can also conduct interviews and focus groups with the parents and teachers and community partners, asking for deeper insights and seeing on how they view the FBRA students compared to those who didn't graduate from FBRA or currently attend on the leadership traits that my question is asking in regards to empathy, integrity, and the ability to inspire others. And when it comes to analyzing the data for surveys, I could calculate the averages and percentages, comparing scores by grade level, looking for connections there. And also when it comes to the interviews, I could transcribe the responses and seek to identify repeating themes, comparing them with the survey results. The challenge I foresee with this methodology is that it is time intensive because of the amount of data that I would have to organize. In addition to that, there is a chance of my own bias that could creep in simply because I want the study to favor my vision. Even still, I think this is the best approach for what I'm looking to achieve in answering my research question, because leadership development is both quantifiable and experiential. Combining surveys and interviews will tell the whole story, allowing me to measure growth and also hear how that growth actually happens. So in conclusion, my research explores how faith-based education influences leadership development in middle school students, specifically in the traits like empathy, integrity, and the ability to inspire others. Through a mixed method design that blends surveys with interviews and focus groups, I aim to show that faith-based experiential learning can produce confidence, compassion, and resilient young leaders. And while there are challenges and limitations, this approach provides the most reliable and valid way to explore how faith, education, and leadership intersect to prepare the next generation for both life and legacy. Thank you.